Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so before we get into the case, I want y'all to get into these nails right quick because if it will focus, dang, you ruined my moment, camera. Hello? Because who? I am so impressed with myself. Like, who told me I could do nails? What? Come on now, y'all. I am so impressed with myself, like in real life. Yes, just take it all in. Look at them. Enjoy them. And since these are Halloween, like breast cancer sets, I don't know if y'all can tell, but this one right here says boob. Fuck breast cancer. Let's just say that. Fuck you, cancer. Doo-doo. That's why it's on my middle finger. But anyways, so today is Monday, October 24th, and this is the start of my very first like real series on this channel, which is Halloweek. Welcome, guys. So basically from Monday to Monday, I am going to be uploading a video every single day, and they are going to be Halloween in theme, whether that be spooky, urban legends, crimes that happened on Halloween, haunted houses, you know, just stuff to get you ready and no, for Halloween, which is on next week Monday, which is why I'm starting it today. So like I said, for 7 whole days, y'all about to see this beautiful little face on y'all's wherever y'all watch YouTube at, because some of y'all be watching YouTube on TV. But anyways, wherever you watch YouTube at, I'm gonna be there. And I figured, why not start off this series with a case that actually ended up canceling Halloween. And yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So Shauna Howe was born on July 11th, 1981 to her parents, Lucy Howe and Robert Howe. She was one of their 4 children. And when Lucy and Robert decided to split, Shauna would end up staying full-time with her mom, but she did remain a good, healthy relationship with her dad, Robert. Now, fast forward to 1992. It's October 27th. Shauna is now 11 years old. And this is Shauna's favorite time of year. This is Halloween time, spooky season. She loves dressing up. She loves becoming the character that she dresses up as. And this particular year, she decided that she wanted to be a gymnast. And so everything was going as planned that morning. Shauna woke up for school. She put on her little gymnast outfit to go under her school clothes because she had an event to go to later on that day. And she reminded her mom, like, hey, I have a Girl Scouts party to go to later on today. Can you pick me up? And Lucy, her mom, was like, okay, cool. I'm not going to be able to pick you up, but I will definitely schedule somebody to pick you up after your Girl Scouts party. So Shauna goes through the whole day. She goes to school, and after school she goes to her Girl Scout meeting, and they ended up going to a senior citizens home. I guess, you know, in their costumes to make the senior citizens feel happy, you know, just to bring them some type of joy, entertainment. You know, it's a senior citizens home. They do stuff like that all the time. And after going to this senior citizens home, the Girl Scouts had a Halloween party planned at the First Methodist Church. So Shauna goes to this Halloween party, and once it's over around 7:30, 8 o'clock, Shauna and her friend walk outside, and nobody is there to pick up Shauna. It turns out that Lucy actually forgot to arrange a ride for Shauna. Now, First Methodist Church wasn't too far away from Shauna's house. I mean, it was a couple blocks, you know, but it wasn't so far that Shauna wouldn't be able to walk there, you know. Unfortunately, though, Shauna would never make it home. And at around 9 o'clock, Shauna's stepdad, John Brown, he calls her mom, who was at work at the time, and he's like, you know, what time was the Halloween party for the Girl Scouts supposed to be over, because Shauna's not home yet. And Lucy was just kind of like, you know, that really should have been over. There's no Girl Scout meeting or party that would have lasted this long. It's like it's 9 o'clock. And at this point, Lucy's not panicking because she's like, maybe Shauna decided to walk home with a friend so that she didn't have to walk home by herself. Maybe she stayed at the church. Lucy just didn't feel the need to panic at this point. However, when she got home around 10 o'clock and Shauna still wasn't there, this is when Lucy's panic started to set in. She's like, okay, there's absolutely no way my baby shouldn't be at home right now. And she called the friends to see if Shauna was with any of them. She wasn't. And so Lucy called the police. She told them the situation. And once she get off the phone with the police kind of start connecting some dots, because just about an hour or two earlier, the police received a call from another resident who claimed that he had seen a potential kidnapping. And this happened on 1st and Reed Street, which was a street that Shauna would have been on in order to get home. And this caller said that he was walking down 1st and Reed Street and he heard a muffled scream. And so he looked and he seen a tall, scruffy white guy with a ball cap on grab a girl, put her in a small red car, and the car just drove off. And so the police getting that call coupled with the call from Lucy, they kind of start putting things together. And when the first call came in, they had automatically set up roadblocks. So they were already putting things in place before Lucy even called them to stop this potential kidnapper and to get whatever little girl that was kidnapped. So the police and the other residents of the community, they kind of form a search party. They are all in looking for Shauna. Unfortunately, the first day, nothing comes up. However, on the second day, which is October 29th of 1992, Shauna's bodysuit to her costume was found in another town just about 8 miles away from Oil City. However, there was no Shauna. And this kind of gave the investigators a little bit of hope, because once they found that bodysuit, they tested it for DNA and they swabbed it and everything. And turns out there was seminal DNA found on this leotard. And so they collected that and they stored it away. However, they didn't have any suspects at this point, which was obviously crucial in solving this case. So the very next day, in the same area where Shauna's leotard was found, a man was walking across the bridge and he looks down and he sees a young girl's body at the bottom of the bridge. It's face down, and he called the police. He calls them immediately. And the police come out, they get the body, and turns out that this was Shauna. Now, the crazy thing is that the police were there. The police and the search party were there just the day before when they found the leotard. However, they didn't see Shauna. She wasn't there. So that means that whoever had Shauna dumped her after the police were already there. Now, the autopsy of Shauna showed that there was blunt force trauma to her head and her chest. And it's also suggested that she was alive when she was thrown over the bridge, because there's evidence on her body of her trying to break her fall. And so that means that when the search party was there the night before, Shauna was more than likely still alive. So based off of the description that the first caller gave who reported a kidnapping, the police were led to believe that this resembled a guy named Edgar. His name's not Edgar. Eldred Walker, who went by the name of Ted. So the police interviewed Eldred, or Ted, and he denied pretty much everything. He denied being involved in the kidnapping, the murder, and pretty much just everything that involved Shauna's case. And so the police were like, okay, so if you weren't a part of this, then you wouldn't mind giving us your DNA, right? And Ted agreed. He offered a sample of his DNA, and it was tested against the DNA that was found on Shauna and on her leotard, and it was not a match. And so the police had no choice but to believe that he had no part in this crime at all. So obviously the police are going to look at the people who are closest to Shauna. That would be her stepdad, her uncles, any male cousins, and everybody was super cooperative. Everybody gave a sample of their DNA. All of the people that the police asked for their DNA, they submitted the DNA like with no questions, because they knew that they didn't have anything to do with this crime. And their DNA proved that. The DNA that was on Shauna did not match to anybody who was close to her. And so now the investigation goes to a standstill. But the police are still working really, really hard to try to figure out who did this to Shauna. And a couple of brothers, the O'Brien brothers, Timothy and James O'Brien, their names come up because they got a long criminal past. And so naturally, their names come up in the investigation. However, it was determined that the O'Brien brothers were actually in prison at the time of Shauna's kidnapping and murder. And so they couldn't have had nothing to do with it because they was in jail at the time. And so once again, the case is at a complete standstill and they have no more leads. It wouldn't be till another 10 years later when they finally captured the people who were responsible for Shauna's murder. And that was when one of the detectives on the case, he decided to revisit certain suspects. He wanted to make sure that every person was looked into as thoroughly as possible. And so this brought him back to the O'Brien brothers because he had never seen any type of documentation that said that they were in prison at the time. It was just stated that they were in prison at the time, and so they couldn't have anything to do with it. However, once he dug really, really deep, he found out that neither O'Brien brother at the time was in prison. So this was a huge mistake on the police's part because that means that one of them could potentially be the person who did this to Shauna, and that could have been solved 10 years ago. Now, at this point, the brothers were actually in jail. Tim was in jail for, I think, an assault charge, and Jim was in jail for an attempted kidnapping that happened in 1995. And so this detective went to the jail to talk to the O'Brien brothers. He wanted to interview them, and he wanted to see where they were the night of the murder, what they were doing, if they had an alibi, and, pretty much just rule them out or in. One way or another, he was able to obtain DNA from both of these brothers, and the DNA that was found on Shauna was a match to Jim. So the police know that Ted was actually associated with Tim and Jim O'Brien. And so they go back to Ted. They just want to talk to him and see if he gonna give up any more information because you was affiliated with them. And once they did, y'all, Ted spilled all the beans. He told it all, and he told everything that happened. I mean, he changed his story about 15 times, but all in all, he did tell the story. And so this is the final story that the police believe was the most true out of all his stories. So on the day of October 27th, 1992, Ted, Jim, and Tim all concocted this, plan to prank somebody. I think it's to prank Ted, one of Ted's co-workers, and to kidnap their kid as a Halloween prank. I don't know what kind of prank kidnapping is, but that was their idea. And at first it was a little boy who they wanted to kidnap, and then they changed it and was like, no, let's just kidnap a little girl. And so when they saw Shauna walking down the street by herself, Ted grabbed her, threw her in the car with Jim and Tim, and then they drove off. And they took Shauna back to Ted's house. Now, at Ted's house, Ted say that he get in the kitchen and he started making spaghetti for dinner because his 8-year-old son live in the house. And so he got to make dinner because he's a daddy. And the O'Brien brothers take Shauna upstairs. And it is while Ted is making spaghetti that he hears Shauna's screams and cries. And so he go upstairs and he knock on the door and he like, hey, y'all, chill out. What is y'all doing? And Jim and Tim is like, mind your business and worry about your own child. And Ted take this as a threat. He like, okay, if they doing that to this kid, they can definitely do something to my kid. And so Ted ends up just leaving the house. And he said that when he came back, Jim, Tim, and Shauna were gone. He don't know where they went, what they did, but they were all gone. And he never told anybody about this. And when the police came and talked to him, he denied everything. He said he ain't know nothing, and that's just the way it was going to be because he didn't want to be involved with the O'Brien brothers no more. He was through. And so finally, after 10 years, this family has some type of, closure, if that's what you want to call it, as to what happened to Shauna and who did this to her. And in an effort to get less time, Ted copped a plea and he agreed to a 40-year sentence in exchange for his testimony against the O'Brien brothers. So he testified against them in court and he received a 40-year sentence. And the O'Brien brothers, they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And finally, this family had some type of justice for little Shauna. But not only did this crime impact the family of Shauna, it also impacted all of Oil City because they actually canceled Halloween. Not only that year in 1992, but for years to come. It wouldn't be until 2008 when Halloween was reinstated in Oil City, and even then there were stipulations. But yeah, that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 2 of Halloweek. Bye. And this particular Lear over on West Street. No, it's not on West Street. It's just the First Methodist Church.